of Champions 2020 predictions video. What we're going to do is we're going to do the predictions for the first 10, 15 minutes, get them done, and then I will jump into the chat. So this whole video, this whole stream will be about an hour, but the predictions will be at the first part, and then we'll throw a few theories around and see what interesting stuff people have heard, and kind of just see like what people are saying in general, because I do think this is a very interesting show. Every single match is for a championship, and that does kind of get lost. It doesn't feel like every match is a championship match. It doesn't feel like it's that special of a show. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because we had obviously SummerSlam and then Payback straight after. Maybe as a result, this one's, I don't know, just not feeling as special. Maybe because there's no cinematic match, or there's nothing really to kind of draw you into the show. I suppose you've got the ambulance match, there's a ladder match, but compared to what we've had, where people have been having their eyes poked out, it just doesn't kind of feel on the same level. So, yeah, I can understand that people are going into this one a little bit like, don't know, not really like crazy for this show, but I think it's still going to be a decent show, and I think that you're still going to get some talking points, quite a few talking points actually. So what we're going to do is take it match by match. I've got all of the matches to the side of the screen that you can see, and I'll throw in any potential twists and turns in there as well. So let's start, shall we, at the bottom with Bobby Lashley against Apollo. This, of course, is for the United States Championship, and Bobby Lashley surely retaining. I don't think this match is going to be that long. I think Apollo will get a bit of offense in, but I think this should be a relatively straightforward victory for Bobby. I think what they're doing with the Hurt Business at the moment is excellent. I think that the Hurt Business are in a really great place at the moment, and I would like to see them go on to challenge for the tag titles. That surely has got to be the next step. So I think Hurt Business against Street Profits for the tag titles could be very interesting. Of course, the other spanner in the works is Retribution. Hurt Business seem to be very heavily involved with Retribution, so it's hard to know which way they're going to go with Hurt Business. But what we can say is that Hurt Business are absolutely front and center at the moment. They are really being booked quite heavily. They're being involved in a lot of different things at the moment. And I can see them getting some more championship gold. So it doesn't make any sense for Bobby Lashley to lose the United States Championship here. If anything, as I said, I think they'll turn their attention to the tag titles. You do just have Retribution hanging around, but I don't think they're going to be a faction in or a factor in this match. So I'm going to say Bobby Lashley retains. Next up, we got Street Profits against Andrade and Angel Garza. And I've kind of already answered this one. Obviously, this is for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. And I think Street Profits retain. And again, I really hope this is going to build towards Street Profits versus Hurt Business. I think that could be a very interesting feud. I think that you could have a lot of fun if you was to do that at Hell in a Cell. I mean, at Hell in a Cell, they might want to do Hurt Business versus Retribution. And actually, that would be awesome. Could you imagine a Hell in a Cell match with Hurt Business and Retribution locked inside? That could be a lot of fun. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know if you'd want that many people inside of Hell in a Cell, but just go for it. What have you got to lose? So maybe Retribution. This is what I'm saying. It's hard to know what the Hurt Business are going to go and do because they're involved in so many different things. So I would book Hurt Business Retribution for Hell in a Cell. But I think the Hurt Business at some point are coming for those tag titles. Andrade and Angel Garza just can't get on the same page, and I don't know why now they all of a sudden would. So I did see in the chat the other day on one of the streams someone saying maybe now that Zelina is kind of out the picture, it might help Andrade and Angel Garza get on the same page. Maybe Zelina's become a bit of a problem for that group. I don't know. I gotta be honest, I don't really see that. If anything, I can see Andrade and Angel Garza going into a feud. So I'm going to say Street Profits retain. Hard to know what's next for them. Could be the Hurt Business. But as I said, I think I would probably book Hurt Business Retribution in a Hell in a Cell match instead. Next, we got the Intercontinental Championship match. This is Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn. Difficult one to call this. Very, very difficult one to call. You could make an argument for any of these winning. And I've got to tell you, the person I want to win is Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn has been away for a while. He feels quite fresh. Even when he was around, he wasn't wrestling that much. He's very much someone that I feel deserves better. Like, I don't know why he was moved into that manager's role for so long. I mean, seemingly they just don't see any value in Sami Zayn. And as a result of that, I can't see why he would win here. I think there's value in Sami Zayn. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. So I'll be cheering for Sami Zayn. But all the signs seem to indicate that he is not winning. AJ Styles, I think, doesn't need the belt. AJ Styles could be free to move to a different brand when we get to the draft. He kind of doesn't necessarily need to get tied down with the Intercontinental Championship. He can very easily be moved back to that main event title picture. I'm not saying against Roman. It could be that, as we said, he moves to Raw and then, ends up doing something over there instead around the main event scene. So I don't think putting the title on AJ is necessary. I think Jeff Hardy retains. They've put the belt on him relatively recently. They've invested a lot in Jeff Hardy recently as well. He's a proven draw. There's a connection that he's got with the fans. He's just re-signed a new contract. He wants to bring back No More Words as his theme. I believe that was in his contract. So why would you now take the title off Jeff Hardy? All this match is going to do is just bring clarity to the Intercontinental Championship picture, which is quite messy at the moment. And plus also it's a ladder match. So who specializes in ladder matches? Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is going to walk out the Intercontinental Champ. Next up, we got the WWE Smackdown Tag Team Championships on the line. Cesaro and Nakamura, the champions, defending against the Lucha House Party. I think this is a little tricky because I think either of these teams could split. Again, I think we're looking at teams splitting. I feel like it's going to be Lucha House Party. They've certainly planted seeds of Kalisto turning, which could be quite interesting. Honestly, if they split Cesaro and Nakamura, what are they going to go on to do? I mean, doesn't seem like Cesaro's ever going to get to that main event picture. Nakamura was there before and didn't really set the world on fire. I'm not sure how much confidence they've got in him being around that main event scene. So I think this is probably the best way to use Cesaro and Nakamura at the moment. Put them in a tag team. They're a good tag team. They're very enjoyable to watch. They're basically the Bar, the modern day version of the Bar, which is no bad thing. So I say keep the titles on Cesaro and Nakamura. I don't know what else you would do with them unless you're going to move them to the main event scene, and they won't. So you might as well just split the Lucha House Party, who I don't think ever really worked as a group anyway, and you could actually do something more interesting with them going off in their own directions. Next, we've got Asuka versus Zelina Vega, and Asuka retains. I just don't see any reason for this match. I think it's quite interesting. It feels quite fresh. Zelina Vega, someone that's got a lot of TV time, moving her to, challenging for this women's WWE Raw Women's Championship, I think is interesting. But I don't know. I think there was better opponents. Like, why is this not Bianca Belair? I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know why it's not Bianca Belair. I think that they could have gone, they could have found a way of making it like Naomi or someone. I know she's on SmackDown, but they've just moved Mandy Rose. Could they not have moved Naomi and then given us this match instead? Asuka versus Naomi. But we've ended up with Asuka, Zelina Vega. It's a fresh matchup, but honestly, it's still probably only Raw quality, not Clash of Champions quality. Zelina Vega not coming in with any momentum. She's got one win over I say one win. Did she beat Lana the other week? And then she beat Mickie James. I know that much. Asuka retains. Next up, we got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler taking on the Riot Squad. And I've actually got the Riot Squad winning this. I think that it's about time that they just split Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I think they only put them together to get the tag titles off of Bayley and Sasha. And I still don't know why it wasn't the Riot Squad that did that in the first place. Like, I honestly thought the Riot Squad were going to beat Sasha and Bayley. And then they didn't even face them. It ended up being Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, which is a team that makes no sense. They're very much the odd couple, but not in an entertaining way. I just don't think there's much of a future for this group, if I'm being honest. I think you've got a proper women's tag team, two people that have travelled together. I believe they are genuinely good friends. And I think that they would be perfectly fine to put the tag titles onto. So I'm going to say Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, get the job done and become the new women's tag team champions. Now, this one's controversial because it's Bayley versus Nikki Cross. And the reason why I say controversial is because I've seen a lot of people saying that Alexa Bliss is going to get involved. And I've seen a lot of people saying that Sasha Banks is going to get involved. And I don't think both are getting involved. So it's one or the other, right? Now, no doubt that Bayley and Sasha is the bigger story, right? So for that reason, you might look at it and say, Sasha's getting involved. Sasha's going to get involved. She's going to start beating up Bayley. It's going to end in a DQ. Nikki Cross wins the match, but she doesn't win the title. Sasha beats up Bayley, and that's it, And that could happen. That honestly could happen. That's not what I want, though, right? I don't want that because I think that Sasha has got to sell these injuries. I think they've brought her back too soon anyway. She should not have been on SmackDown at any point since that brutal attack. If they were going to bring her back, bringing her back at this show might have been okay. But we've already seen her, doing that little interview, and it's just wasn't needed. Didn't add anything. Seeing her getting attacked again didn't add anything because the first attack was so brutal that I think they should have just sold that a little bit longer. So I don't want to see her here. I want to see her resting up, getting ready for surely what will be a hellacious Hell in a Cell match. If there's one feud that deserves to take place inside Hell in a Cell, it is Bayley versus Sasha Banks. So I'm going to say Alexa Bliss is the one that's going to interfere here. Could be Sasha. I just don't want that because, as I said, I think she needs to rest up. And I actually think that you could do something quite interesting with Alexa. Bayley, Nikki, lights go out, lights come back on, Alexa in the ring. And I don't know what she looks like. She might have a mask. She might have something. She might have gone full-on Fiend. She might have gone full-on Sister Abigail by this point. She is still... They showed a backstage video of her walking around backstage still in this trance. Do you remember when they mentioned the Fiend and she snapped and she did Sister Abigail on Lacey Evans? She hasn't come out of that trance because they showed her backstage after SmackDown staring into the sky. I mean, it is a bit weird that happens just at the mere mention of the Fiend. Yeah, she's still wandering around like this. So she could be gone. That's it. Like, she could be completely off with the fairies now. So I think that it would be a bit more exciting. Lights go out, come back on, and whatever Alexa is meant to be now, this next incarnation, let's show it. Let's create a buzz. Let's actually do something with this show. I don't need Sasha coming down and beating up Bayley. I just don't need it. Not yet. I'm happy to wait on that. Sell the injury. Alexa is a lot more interesting here, and she costs Nikki. And as a result, Bayley retains. She can go on to have her feud with Sasha, and boom, we're underway with the full Alexa turn and a feud with Nikki Cross. Next up, we got 2 more matches to go. We got Roman Reigns against Jey Uso. I've not seen anyone predicting that Jey is winning this. And I'm not predicting Jey's winning this either. I'm saying Roman retains. I have seen some theories that Roman is going to be revealed as the leader of Retribution. And a couple of things I would say to that. I said the other day on the watch-along, they have not teased that Retribution even has a leader. So there's all this speculation about who's the leader. There might not be one. Like, it might be Dominic Dijakovic. It might be the bald one. You know, Bane, whatever he's called. Slaphead. I can't remember his name. Slim Jim. It might be that guy that's the leader of Retribution. So I wouldn't get too caught into the leader's going to be John Cena. The leader's going to be CM Punk. The leader's going to be Roman Reigns. Let's be crystal clear. Retribution are full on cringe. They are full on cringe. The whole wrestling world today is laying into them. Like, I can't recall. I honestly can't recall. Like, I've read a few reviews of what we saw on Raw, and just everyone is putting the boots in. The names, the look, the fact they've got contracts. Like, everyone is ripping into that group. Do not have Roman anywhere near that group. They are finally doing something interesting, engaging with Roman. Don't weigh him down with that anchor that is Retribution, because they might be DOA. Honestly, I don't even know if that group's worth saving or can be saved at this point. It's still quite early in the story, and I'm sure there's a few twists and turns, and I'm sure they'll find some kind of way of trying to reinvigorate the group, but will we ever get used to those names for Retribution? Will we ever fully understand why a group that hates WWE destroyed their property illegally, well, done so much illegally, assaulted their locker room, is awarded a contract? Even Vince Russo took to Twitter, and he was like, all the years I worked for you, Vince, you never gave me a contract, but these degenerates that are trashing your company get awarded one. Yeah, I have to agree, it's stupid. So I don't want Roman anywhere near this. This is the best they've booked Roman since he left the Shield. I know it might not be, well, it is strong. They're certainly booking him strong, but it's not about how strong you're booked. It's about how well you're booked. And him winning WrestleMania main event after WrestleMania main event just wasn't cutting it. You know, him winning Royal Rumbles and everything, it's not what we wanted. We wanted a heel Roman, and now we've got it. It's a big success. Him with Paul Heyman is money. It is money. He looks awesome. His promos and his mannerisms, and I'm so on board the Roman hype train at the moment. I don't want Retribution anywhere near Roman Reigns. So I'm hoping they're not going to get involved. I just want Roman to brutally beat down Jey Uso, beat him down, win the match, and then keep beating him down again, and really send a message out there, which is surely why Jey Uso is in this position in the first place. Right, main event time. I believe main event of the show, of the night. I would imagine it will be. It's the ambulance match for the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre against Randy Orton. And there is a Lesnar that's hanging over this show. And the reason why I say that is because Brock Lesnar was meant to be at SummerSlam, but they cancelled those plans because, of course, there was no crowd. And as a result, he's someone that they can bring back if they feel they need to, just push ratings up a little bit. Now that American football, NFL, is back and sports are back, we're starting to see the ratings fall again. Maybe not so much for SmackDown, that's hovering around 2 million, but for Raw, 1.6 million isn't good, right? That's not where they want to be. So could it be a case that to try and reinvigorate the red brand, they potentially bring back the person that Drew McIntyre beat to win the WWE Championship? Pick up a phone, pay him the money, get Brock Lesnar in. This would seem like a weird show to bring him back on. I do understand that. But you bring him back on this show, send the message out that Lesnar's back, create the buzz for your next pay-per-view where he's actually going to feature and be advertised. He's not advertised for this one. And he might not show. But I'm just saying that he's there if they need him. And, it could be quite interesting. Could be interesting if he gets involved in the Roman match, but I don't think he will. If he's coming back, I think it's more likely that he's going to get involved in the Drew Randy Orton match. I've even seen theories that he might be like the person revealed as the driver of the ambulance and all stuff like this. There's a few people talking about Lesnar, and it's just worth knowing. I don't know that he's going to be on this show. Of course, I'm leaning more towards he won't be. But just something to keep in mind. That's all. That's all we're saying. Just something to keep in mind. Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton. Keith Lee could be added to this. At the time of recording this, he isn't. I think Randy wins. I think Randy's taken the title. I think that they've got plans to do Randy versus Edge. I think that they didn't want to take the title off of Drew at SummerSlam. They wanted to give him a big result. They achieved that. And so, it brought real credibility to his title reign. But honestly, I think the time's right now to put the belt onto Randy Orton. I think you've got some interesting stories that you could tell. And you could always do the rematch at Hell in a Cell, or you could add Brock into the mix. You've got Keith Lee still in the mix, so there's lots of moving parts. It's a hard one to call. I mean, the reason I'm leaning to Randy is because I know that was the original plan, that those were the rumors. He was meant to be taking the title around this time and then dropping it to Edge next year at WrestleMania. That's what's been reported. So, didn't think it would happen at SummerSlam, and it didn't. But I'm leaning to it happening now. Could they delay it for another show? Maybe. But ultimately, I do think we're getting to the point where Drew's going to drop that title. I really do. I do think we're getting to the point where Drew's going to drop the title. And certainly where the ratings are constantly a struggle. Does it make more sense to put that title onto a more established star like Randy? I don't know. But I'm leaning to Randy. And we're going to have to wait and see. So, yeah, let's put those results on screen as a reminder. Those are the predictions then of who I think is going to be victorious. And I am going to jump into the chat, get your thoughts as to what you think is going to go down. But that's how I've got it going down this weekend. And those are my reasons as well. Raphael says, I do like Randy Orton, but I want Drew to retain. Wes Heron, shout out to you. Jason says, yeah, I think Randy's winning. It's a sure thing. But Jake says, Drew is clearly winning. Orton stood tall on Raw, so Drew is clearly winning. Yeah, I did used to subscribe to that, but there's a few examples where people have stood tall on the Go Home show and then actually gone on to win at the pay-per-view. So I don't read into it as much anymore as what I used to. Going back about a year ago, I would have read a bit more into that. But as I said, there's been a few examples in recent times where people have looked good on go-home shows and then actually gone on to the pay-per-views and won. I don't know if WWE figured out that we were onto them, but I wouldn't read too much into that. Austin says, I still think Randy has a chance. Nakamura and Cesaro stood tall over the New Day every week, even on the go-home show, and they beat the New Day. So Orton has a chance. Tony says, Zelina in an upset. Well, that would be a massive upset, let me tell you. I haven't seen many people calling it that way, and yeah, I don't know how that would go down. I mean, skill-wise, she's not on Asuka's level. And I'm trying to think who could help her cheat. I mean, I suppose she could find a way to cheat, but I don't know. Is that a feud that you'd want to see? Asuka and Zelina? Not for me. Not for me. Interesting, though. Interesting idea. The triple threat might not be TLC, but they'll probably end up using tables, chairs anyway, says RJ Madma. The female fiend is coming. I think that would be cool. I do think that would be cool. I think of your options, I mean, your options are you do Bayley, Nikki, and it's a clean result. Someone wins. Your other option is Sasha gets involved, or your other option is Alexa gets involved. And out of them three options, I'm definitely leaning towards Alexa being involved. Eric, shout out to you. John Elite says, Dave's bold prediction, Randy dethrones Drew. And at the time of the draft, he brings the title to SmackDown. Well, yeah, I mean, the draft is definitely going to be very interesting this year. Very, very interesting this year. I think you're going to see quite a few moving parts, and not even just between Raw and SmackDown. I think NXT is very much going to be in the mix when it comes to the draft. So I don't know who's going to get called up or what's going to happen with NXT, because obviously there's a lot of people that have moved up as part of Retribution. Seemingly 5 people have come up and are now a part of Retribution. And Keith Lee came up not that long ago. So yeah, I don't know if there will be much in the way of people coming up, but I can just see a bit of star power going to NXT. I think they need it. I think they just need a little bit of star power, because, I mean, like, they're competing against Jericho and Matt Hardy. And, I mean, even if you look at, like, the commentary team, look at the commentary team with JR and Tony. You know, they've got star power everywhere, from the commentary team to in-ring, like, even the owners, even, like, the executive vice presidents. So, yeah, I kind of feel like they need a bit more support, NXT, so could be interesting. Maybe we see like Daniel Bryan move in, or Kevin Owens. I'd love to see them do something with Kevin Owens. I know he's in a bit of a feud, seemingly, with Aleister Black. But like, I don't know. I don't know if that's just to kill a bit of TV time. It's hard to know. Days, could you see AJ getting drafted to NXT to feud with Balor? Yeah, potentially. I mean, the only problem is I don't know how much money NXT generates. And as a result, I don't know what their budget is. You would think, I mean, look, WWE is a business. So that each area is going to have a budget, and NXT is going to have a budget. And unless they're going to increase NXT's budget, are they going to be able to afford an AJ Styles? I mean, they've got a Finn Balor on the roster, so obviously they can afford a Finn Balor, but AJ Styles, I should imagine, is on a decent whack of money. I don't know if it might not be someone a little lower down the totem pole that might end up going over. AJ would be awesome down in NXT, though. Would be awesome down in NXT, but that is serious firepower that you move into NXT. Austin 316 says, I still think there's a good chance that Apollo could win. Retribution could interfere and cost Lashley, and the Hurt Business versus Retribution could kick off their feud. The US title would be irrelevant. Yeah, I suppose that's not a bad shout. I think when I was doing my predictions, I'm very much in the mindset that we are going to see the Hurt Business getting a good chunk of the championships at some point. I mean, they've already got the US championship. It would just make more sense to add to their collection rather than losing what they've got. So I do understand where you're coming from there, and I do like it actually, because I do think the Hurt Business and Retribution is seemingly the way that we're going. Obviously, it could turn out to be WWE Raw versus Retribution, but at the moment, it seems like Hurt Business are very much on the front foot. So yeah, it could be that Apollo wins, and then we just really do focus on Hurt Business, Retribution. It's not a bad shout. Eric says, did you hear that Roman said he will wrestle shirtless at Clash of Champions, and we will also get a new theme song soon? That's cool. I mean, I've got to be honest, I did want a new theme for Roman, but it's not really like a priority. I kind of feel like his theme is fine. It's not a theme that causes any offense. So would it be nice to kind of move away from it? Yeah, because I think this is a real, refresh for Roman Reigns, and that should be reflected in his theme as well. But it doesn't cause me any problems on the level of, wait for it, we can say it together, Keith Lee. Keith Lee's theme offends. I just think that they really got that one wrong. Keith Lee's theme is as offensive as the names of the Retribution members. So yeah, they've got a good track record of really botching call-ups at the moment. Wrestling Days fan, shout out to you. William Hensey says, if Brock comes back, he is underground bound. Brock versus Braun, then Cain Velasquez and all of those UFC guys that want to get into the WWE. I don't know. I don't know what Vince thinks of Raw Underground. I mean, I don't even know what I think of Raw Underground. I thought that it had potential, and I still think it's got potential. But I think it's so far away from where it needs to be. It's hard to know if it's ever actually going to get there. It's hard to know if it's ever going to actually reach its potential, because you could put Brock in, but we need to start getting fights that have finishes, Now, granted, we did get that with Braun and that Dabba-Kato, but equally, they did roll out of that ring and start pushing around a guy outside, and for me, you just go, this is silly. Like, I don't need that bit. That bit for me is just stupid. Like, I would much prefer it if it's so clearly UFC and MMA and, just don't have a wrestling ring without ropes. Like, give us a proper structure. I mean, the fight pit. Do you remember that fight pit? We've spoke about it before, but for those of you that watch NXT, Timothy Thatcher versus Matt Riddle from this year, NXT from this year, I can't remember, I want to say around May, June time, there was a match that was the fight pit, and it was basically this cage around the ring, but it had a higher platform, a level just above, and there was no escaping. It's not like you get out the door or you climb over the top. You could go to the higher level, but it was still just, wherever you went, you were still just fighting. And I think that kind of a structure for Raw Underground would really add a lot. Because I'm already sick of them getting out of the ring and, just pushing people around. And there's been a lot of times in recent weeks where they go out of the ring and they're fighting, and then Shane will just break them up, and then, that'll just be it for that fight. They are starting to announce now some matches in advance, but I think it was a bit of a shame that Dabba-Kato lost. Like, Dabba-Kato, I think, looks really cool. And having him lose to Braun on Raw Underground, I just thought was maybe the wrong call. But it was nice to get a finish. So, yeah, there's pros and cons. I just don't know how Vince sees it And is he going to use someone like Brock Lesnar on Raw Underground? I don't know. Because Vince might just not really believe in it. He might just be doing it to just keep Shane quiet. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like when you're on a long car journey and kids are in the back going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah. Oh, here, look, just have some vinegar. I don't know. Shut up. Right? And this is what he's doing. Vince is just, have that. Just shut up. Yeah, just go away. Play with that. Play with them. Yes, have the performance center recruits. Jennifer Lockhart says, I'll welcome Brock back for the first time ever if they keep Heyman with Roman. Roman and Brock shouldn't be around each other. It would ruin Roman's story. Shout out to you, Jennifer Lockhart. Hope you are well. I agree. The only thing I would say is that I don't mind if Brock comes back as a Paul Heyman guy as well. And you've actually got the two of them standing there together as Paul Heyman guys. Like, they wouldn't really get in each other's way. As long as Brock's got, you know, like, Paul Heyman could be like, you know, this my client over here has got the Universal Championship, and make no mistake about it, my other client over here is going to be going for the WWE Championship. So this is a formal warning to whoever the champion is. Like, you know, there's lots of different ways that they could take it. Be weird seeing Brock without Paul Heyman. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I don't need to see them feuding or anything like that. Ultimately, it might be quite interesting if they did. But we've seen it. I definitely don't need to see that anytime soon. If we're going to get Roman Brock again, then I don't want to see that till like 2022 at the earliest, you know. But yeah, I agree. Hope you're well, Jennifer Lockhart. Shout out to you. Raphael says, Days, my predictions are the same as yours, except that I'm for Drew and Apollo. I did like what Austin just said about Apollo, and then, you know, that frees the Hurt Business to go after Retribution. I think that makes sense. Drew, I feel sorry for Drew. I think that, you know, he's had this title reign, and it's not his fault that, you know, the ratings haven't been brilliant, and obviously he's not been able to, you know, perform in front of the fans. And we don't even know when the fans are coming back. I mean, here in the UK, at the moment, the pandemic seems to be coming back, and we've even had our Prime Minister on TV tonight saying, you know, that there's tougher measures and we're not going into lockdown, but, like, we're definitely taking steps towards it. And, you know, if that's happening here, I don't know what the situation's like in the US, but you would have to think that it's, do you know what I mean, probably on the rise. I don't have the information to hand. So I would imagine the cases are probably on the rise, because they're certainly on the rise in Europe. So I just don't know when we're going to get fans back. That's what it comes down to. I don't know when we're going to get fans back. Like, they might be able to get a few fans in, like you see with AEW, but sooner or later, even that will likely stop. Like, actually having a full arena of fans. I don't even know if we're going to get that for WrestleMania. I would hope so. But I think even WrestleMania right now, probably looking at, like, reduced capacity and things like this. So, I don't know. I just kind of think, like, if you're waiting for Drew to have his crowning moment in front of fans, I think you're going to be waiting too long. So I think that they might just put it onto Randy with an eye down the road for him to drop it to a returning Edge. Warsaw Till I Die says Brock will be standing at the back of the ambulance. Ooh. As the door opens. Well, yeah, I mean, that is interesting. I've seen a few people talking about Brock being involved, and we spoke about it earlier as we were discussing, you know, which way we think this might go, and could Brock be a curveball? I think this show needs something I think if they do this show completely clean, it's going to be a bit dull. It's going to be straight up honest. It's going to be a bit dull. This is not the most exciting card in the world. And I think that they really do need just some big talking point. Now, that could be Alexa. Alexa, if she's in her full female fiend mode, that could be a big talking point. It could be Sasha attacking Bayley. Could be that Roman is linked with Retribution, and they, get involved in his match. I hope not. Or it could be a return in Brock Lesnar. I think that'd be really cool. I'm still leaning towards it's unlikely. It's not impossible, but I'm leaning towards it's unlikely. But, yeah, as you just said, Warsaw till I die. If them doors open and Lesnar's standing there, could be quite tasty. Would you want to see Brock versus Thatcher versus Riddle? Would you want to see Brock versus Thatcher versus Riddle? Would I want to see it? Maybe. I don't know. It's not a match that really excites me thinking about. I think Thatcher is like Catcher's Catch Can or Thatcher's Thatch Can, and joint manipulation and lots of wrestling holds, and I don't know that he's going to be able to really work that style on Brock Lesnar, who can work that style. NCAA background, obviously former UFC heavyweight champion as well. So Brock Lesnar is very technical, but he's got the power as well. So I just don't think Thatcher's going to be able to do much against Brock, if I'm being honest. And honestly, I don't think Brock's going to want to work with Riddle. I know a lot of people really want that Riddle-Brock Lesnar match, but in pro wrestling, calling someone out does not work. That's not how you do business unless you've agreed it with them in advance. And there is no way that Matt Riddle on the indie scene picked up the phone to Brock and was like, I'm going to go around and tell everyone that I want to retire you. Is that all right? So he went into business for himself, and I think as not upset Brock, but just Brock's like, I've got no interest in working with that kid. That's not how you do business. Certainly not in pro wrestling. So I just kind of think that works in UFC and MMA, doesn't work in pro wrestling, where everything gets booked and there's a whole creative and all that kind of stuff. So I think the fans want it. I think the fans would like to see Riddle Brock, to see if Riddle can retire Brock. But I just don't even think we get that match. I don't think Brock is going to step in and give Riddle that opportunity, because he doesn't respect Riddle. So I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, is that a match I would like to see? Because I just don't see it. This show is crying desperately for surprises, says Butterspark. I agree. Days, Roman versus Jey Uso in a Samoan stink face match, says Charlie. I think this is going to be a brutal beatdown match. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing blood. I'm seeing the Crimson Mask. I'm seeing Roman beating up on Jey, going too far, getting the win, and a bit of speculating of, well, he went a bit further than what we was expecting there, but I suppose you got to do what you got to do to keep the championship. And then he starts beating up on Jey after the fight has finished, and then there's no doubt that he is full on heel. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all well and good going a bit far during a contest, during a match, but I think it's so important that he beats him down after the match has finished. And I'm sure we will see that. And I want blood. I want blood. Give me blood. I want the Crimson Mask. They need to do kind of what Bayley did to Sasha. Do you know what I mean? Like, brutal beatdown. And if this ultimately leads towards like Roman and Rock at WrestleMania, which is a dream match. You want to talk dream matches? A heel Roman taking on a face Rock at WrestleMania. Just doesn't get much bigger than that. It doesn't get much bigger than that. Wrestling Days fan says, for me, Edge winning the Rumble and winning the title is not good. We already might get Rock Roman for the title. Do we need legends fighting for titles? It's a good point. It's a really good point. It's a really good point. I think the story for Edge and Orton would allow that match to take place. I think if it was just, I don't know, I just kind of think Edge, there's so much love for Edge. When he came back at the Royal Rumble, like the roof erupted, and you know there was such goodwill, and okay, his WrestleMania match didn't hit the mark for everyone. Most people thought it was too long, but I think everyone was in agreement that the greatest wrestling match ever actually was really flipping good. So Backlash was really, really good. So I think there's such goodwill for Edge, and obviously then for him to get that injury, if he was to come back at the Rumble and us get that moment again of Edge is back and this time he wins it, I think you've got a ready-made story there as well with Orton, and I don't think anyone would begrudge it him. Well, maybe you would. Maybe you would begrudge it him, Wrestling Days fan, but I don't think too many other fans would. Although saying that, I can definitely hear people grumbling in my head, saying that, you know, they're giving it to the legends, why aren't they building new stars, all that kind of stuff. And I don't disagree. If I'm being honest, I don't disagree. But I don't know who you would put in that position instead. I don't know who would... I feel like it's way too soon for like a Keith Lee or a Matt Riddle. Way too soon. I know people really want Keith Lee to, you know, get the title. But and maybe WrestleMania. I mean, WrestleMania is still a good, 7 months away, 6 months away. Maybe I'd feel a bit different by the time we get to WrestleMania. But right now, I definitely feel like it's way too soon for Keith Lee to take the top title. Even Brock Lesnar didn't get it this quick. So, yeah, I wouldn't begrudge it him. I think you've got two big main events there. Edge Orton for the title and Rock Roman. I mean, in fairness, Rock Roman wouldn't have to be for the belt. Do you know what I mean? Like, The Rock could actually cost Roman the title before WrestleMania. Like, that could be part of the build. The Rock comes down, costs Roman, and as a result, the title's not on the line. It's Rock versus Roman, but no title. And then maybe you'd be able to get a newcomer the opportunity that you're looking for. So, there we go. Done. We've booked it. We've sorted it. That's how we roll. That is how we roll. John Elite says, I can see two outcomes for the Universal title match. Roman destroys Jey in seconds, or he does it slowly and painfully. Well, I wouldn't want slow and plodding, because I think Jey is quite an exciting wrestler, and you know I'd like them to work a decent pace. And I'd just like Jey to get a bit of offense in, you know. I like Jey Uso. I wouldn't want it to be a squash in seconds. So I think that a little bit of back and forth. Give Jey, you know, some moments. I think it'd be nice if he got at least 1-2 count. 2.9, you know, Jey close to getting that Universal Championship. Can't imagine he's going to get this opportunity again, ever. So, yeah, I think a little bit of back and forth, and then Roman takes over. Beat down, barricade, chair shots, announce table, spot, anything and everything, and wins. And even the commentators can be like, I don't know, that felt like he did go a bit too far, but all's fair in love and war. And then boom, starts beating him down after. Days, I'd like to see Cesaro and Shinsuke split and then have a match, which surely would be a 5-star match, but we'll never know what would be next, says JB17. I think they will split eventually. Most tag teams do. And certainly teams that are 2 single stars. So I think they will split eventually, but I don't know that they're going to split at this show. And split for the sake of the Lucha House Party. I don't know. Another surprise would be if Drew McIntyre accidentally Claymore kicks one of the Thunderdome viewers, says David Hall. If he did, I would hope whoever's on that screen sells the injury. I would hope that after, they're like, oh, if that was me on the screen, I'd be like that for the rest of the show. Oh. That could be fun. A fresh push, and he just gets the title. He is not dropping that belt to Jey, says 49ers Empire. No, I don't think he is either. Eric says, did you hear that Roman said he's going to wrestle shirtless? Yeah, it was mentioned earlier. Future Compilation says, Days, if Jeff wins, who do you think will be the next challenger? Or do you think they'll continue this storyline? I don't see AJ sticking around the IC title. I think he held it. I don't think there's any need for him to carry on being around it. So I feel confident that of the 3, AJ's done, right? So for me, it's down to Hardy and Sammy. Now, I think that you could still carry on a feud with Jeff and Sammy after this. I also think there's a really good chance that Sami Zayn's just going to go back to NXT when we get the draft. If you want to talk about someone that's going back to NXT, I think Sami Zayn's got to be a front runner because he's a bit of a name. You know, he's been used on the main roster, so he's a bit of a name. But he's also very much an indie darling. You know, he came through, like, you know, your Ring of Honors and everything. And I just kind of think that he fits NXT maybe a bit better than he has the main roster. I don't think it's actually his fault. It's the way that he's been booked. I mean, like, they just, for whatever reason, just don't see it in him. That's the only thing I can think because it's never kicked on. So, yeah, I think you'd have to say there's a good chance that he'll go back to NXT at some point. So I could see Jeff and Sammy just continuing their feud for a little bit. Ultimately, it could be anyone, couldn't it? You know, it's so hard to predict the future because of the draft. We're really close to it. It's meant to be about 4 weeks away. So I could see Jeff, Sammy just carrying on until then. Sammy is so good in the ring, says Wrestling Days fan. I agree. Why can't they all be friends, says Miss Clown One. Eddie Podcast says, will we get NXT Japan? There's been absolutely no news or updates on that. Apparently, they tried to buy All Japan Wrestling, which is a big statement, to try and buy All Japan. So, but they didn't succeed. At least I don't believe they succeeded. So there's definitely movement when it comes to NXT Japan. I don't know how easy that's going to be to set up in the world that we're living in right now because of the pandemic and the fact that travel is not that easy. And I should imagine it's a lot harder to do meetings. But saying that, the world can't stop. So I should imagine that they're having to find alternative ways. So do I think you're going to get NXT Japan? Yes. Do I think it's anytime soon? No. I don't think you're seeing it in 2020. Could get announced in 2021. But I don't think you're going to get it anytime soon. But there's been some, you know, apparently they tried to buy Stardom. They tried to buy Stardom, which is the all-female Japanese promotion. So they tried to buy that, but I think New Japan got it in the end. So this was, I can't remember how long ago this was. Relatively recently, like past 12 months, all of this. So it's definitely something that they've been looking at. So Days thinks Orton's going to win the title. Yeah, I just think that they have had, there's been a lot of rumours, a lot of talk that Orton is going to become champion and going to go on to have a match against Edge for the title next year. So if that is true, they're going to have to put the title onto Orton at some point. Plus also, I kind of think Orton being a 14-time champ would be cool. I mean, like, the record is 16 times. So Orton getting up to 14, and, you know, is there a story there where Orton is pushing to break the record? I think Vince would like Orton to be the record holder. So I'm not going to say that he will be, but I could see WWE wanting to just nudge him a little closer to it. So, plus he's a bigger name. Do you know what I mean? Like, the ratings aren't great on Raw. It's not Drew's fault, but the champion normally takes the fall. Then you've got the rumours as well that they want to build towards Orton against Edge next year for the title. And all of a sudden, things are starting to add up a little bit. So, I didn't think they would do it at SummerSlam, but I think there's a chance they do it here. People were mad to lash out at AEW for putting Britt Baker and Big Swole on the buy-in, but then the same people are now quiet about the fact WWE have put a women's title on the pre-show. The only thing I would say to that is that every match is for a title. So one of these title matches has got to go onto the pre-show. Plus, you would look at who Asuka is facing. So the difference here is that Britt Baker and Big Swole feuded for a long time. And actually, it was one of my favourite feuds. I was singing the praises of how they were using Britt Baker, because I thought the fact that she was injured, but she was still being featured on a regular basis, was something that you just really don't see all that often. I thought her interactions with Tony were very funny. Obviously, Rebel and Reba and all of that I thought was fun. And it was just a great feud that was running throughout the summer. So because this was them finally getting their hands on each other after that massive build, that's why people had a problem with it just going on to the pre-show. Having seen the match and the fact that it was just, it didn't know if it was serious. It didn't know. And this is the problem with AEW. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, the same match can try to be funny and serious, and it just all gets very confusing. You don't know how you're meant to... Am I meant to be watching, like, two people trying to rip into each other, or what is this? Is this, like, an R-Truth segment? What am I watching, you know? And that was the problem with the thing, and watching it, it should have been on the buy-in. So I think they were right first time. So the difference is, big summer, big build, finally getting their hands on each other. People were looking forward to it and wanted to see it on the main show. This, Asuka against Zelina Vega, has got no build whatsoever. No one thinks Zelina Vega is going to be winning. Well, I think one person does. And most people think that this is just to kind of kill a bit of time. So I'm a massive Asuka fan. Like, Asuka, I would say, is probably my favourite WWE superstar. It doesn't bother me in the slightest that this is on the kickoff show, because I just don't think this is a match worth caring about. And if anything, actually, it might be a bit better it's on the kickoff show, which might surprise you, me saying this, but because none of us expect Asuka to lose. So it's on the kickoff show, which now kind of reinforces that Asuka's not losing, because you don't tend to get title changes on the kickoff show. But what if they do a switch here, you know? Of all the matches, that's one that you kind of feel quite confident about that the champion's retaining. So that's why it kind of makes sense to put it on the kickoff show. But imagine if Zelina did win. That would be a big, big surprise. Impact Wrestling sucks, says the Eddie podcast. The Street Profits versus Angel and Andrade, or Nia and Shayna versus Riot Squad, or Lucha Party versus Shinsuke and Cesaro are all pre-show material. Well, maybe I agree with Street Profits, Angel and Andrade. I'd agree with you on that. I think Nia Shayna versus Riot Squad has got potential to see a title change. And again, as we said, you don't tend to get that on pre-show. So I think that's why it's not potentially on there, because I think you're going to see the titles change hands. In regards to Lucha House Party against Shinsuke and Cesaro, yeah, I've got Shinsuke and Cesaro retaining. So I agree with you on that. That was another candidate as well. I think wherever the champion's going to retain, it's got to be in the mix for, Bobby Lashley Apollo probably could be on the kickoff show. Street Profits versus Andrade Angel Garza could be on the kickoff show. Cesaro Lucha House Party could be on the kickoff show. Asuka Zelina could be on the kickoff show. I wouldn't say Bayley Nikki, because I think there's too many moving parts there. Certainly, obviously, wouldn't say the Drew or Roman match either. So I think you've got like 3 or 4 matches that could be. It's got to be one of them. So I don't mind it being Asuka. I'm going to be a sloth for Halloween, says Armando. I'm going to be Slapjack out of Retribution. I think it's so good of WWE to give us Retribution reveals now, because now we can all dress up as our favourite Retribution members, because is there anything scarier this Halloween than how they are booking that quality NXT talent? Is there anything scarier than Mia Yim's future prospects? So I'm going to dress up as a member of Retribution. In fact, all of them. I might get some mannequins and strap them to me, and then I can be all the members of Retribution. Because that is just a wild, wild faction. What are the chances of Brock returning? I'm leaning to unlikely, but I'm not saying impossible. There's nothing concrete, so we'll have to wait and see. But certainly a few people predicting that it could happen, and we dropped it in and said it could as well, because they didn't use him for SummerSlam, and you'd think they'd want to use him sometime soon. If they can't be waiting for crowds, because we don't know when they're coming back. So just to touch back on that Retribution thing as well, WrestleVotes, who have been very good in 2020 with their behind the scenes information, said that apparently they were told by one of their sources, and again, let me reiterate this, they have been very, very good in 2020. They broke the news about who was going into the Hall of Fame. They broke the news about the fact that Roman was out of WrestleMania and that Braun was going to be the replacement. They broke the news about Samoa Joe violating the wellness policy before anyone else even knew that had happened. So there's been a few times that they've been bang on the money this year. And they said their sources told them that apparently last night backstage there was loads of people laughing at Retribution and the reveal and the names and the costumes. And so apparently even people in WWE are like having a little giggle at what they're seeing on Retribution and on TV. So the future does not bode well. Wrestling Days fan says WrestleVotes are reliable. Days, WWE is going to do another meet and greet. You can speak to Bray. Oh, is that true? I didn't know that. Again, I know this splits people. Some people think that this is a cash grab, and some people think that it's way too expensive. I actually think it's awesome and worth the money. It's the virtual meet and greets. So did they do it for SummerSlam? Or I think it was SummerSlam, wasn't it? I was going to say WrestleMania, but I don't know. I think it was SummerSlam, where you could actually pay. I think it's about £180, so about maybe like $200 or something, right? Now I know. I can already hear people going, "What?" I know, right? But you have to pay crazy amounts, about that much, if not more, if you want to meet them at Access. So there's apparently, I think it was Coaster Maniacs was saying that if you go to Access, you can get a pass and you can then meet certain people. But if you want to meet a big name like a Bayley or a Bray, then it's a couple of $100 apparently. So here it's a couple of $100. Now I know that you don't actually physically get a chance to talk to them, to like be with them, but apparently you get to spend like 30 seconds with them, right? Or a couple of minutes. It might be 30 seconds or a couple of minutes, right? But you get to talk to them, ask them a question, and actually interact with them. They're like, hello, and you're like, hello, and you get that opportunity to talk to them. And what you've got to remember is, all right, for those in America that could get to Access, you might think to yourself, well, that's not great. But what about that person in India? What about that person in Europe? What about that person like elsewhere in the world where going to Access is just not an option? So I think like it just opens it out for the world, and I think it's really cool because you get like, I can't remember if it's 30 seconds or 2 minutes, but you get a little bit of time with them, and then you get the video clip after of your interaction, And I just think that if you're a massive Bray fan, that's got to be worth it, hasn't it? To actually sit down and to have Bray go, hey, how you doing? You'd be like, ah! If that was Asuka, I think I'd just start crying. And then it'd be like, time's up. I'd be like, ah! So, yeah, man, it'd be, I think it's cool. So I haven't seen, when they did it before, it was Bayley, who was the SmackDown Women's Champ. It was Drew, who was the WWE Champ. So this must have been SummerSlam. I think Seth was one as well. I can't remember who they all were, but they were all Braun, who was Universal Champ, I think. So it was all the champs. Adam Cole, maybe. Keith Lee, NXT Champ, Keith Lee. So it was NXT Champ, Universal Champ, WWE Champ, SmackDown Women's Champ, and Seth Rollins. Those were your 5 options. Bayley sold out. So I haven't seen this one. But apparently, what did you say, Creed? You could Bray. Interesting. Oh, here we go. Asuka. Oh my God. Asuka. You can speak to Asuka. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could do it. I'd be a mess. What would you say? I don't even know what I'd say. I mean, like, you'd be sitting there waiting. You'd be nervous. You'd be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then, like, come on, you'd be like, right, okay. Hi, how you doing? And they'd be like, oh, hey. And I'd be like, oh, easy peasy. This was easy peasy. And, like, I'd be trying to make a joke and whatever. And all the time's ticking away. And then you're like, right, okay, think of a question. Oh, I really like you, by the way. Oh, man, the pressure. I'd have to have it all written down in advance and everything. But that's really cool. I'd be proper tempted to do the Asuka one. Tempted, but then the more I'm thinking about it, no. Big E, that's cool. Bray, I mean, the Bray one will sell out. No doubt about that. The Asuka one will probably sell out as well, actually. Man, that Asuka one, I'd be really tempted by that Asuka one. I didn't even know about this. This has now completely stopped being about Clash of Champions. Now I'm just thinking about, what would I say to Asuka? Asuka, can I be in the Kabuki Warriors with you? Can I be your new Kairi Sane? Can I be Kairi Days? And we can be Kabuki Warriors 2.0. I can do this. Look. Easy peasy. We'll take over the world. When I met Asuka, I tried to speak Japanese and I failed. I'm not even going to try. I don't even know Japanese. So, yeah, that'd backfire. I'm not very good when it comes to technology, so that would backfire as well. Austin316 says, I would love to speak to Bray. That would be cool. LSW says, do it, Days. Heather says, I'd only get an Asuka chat if I could speak any proper Japanese to her. The thing is, though, yeah, I mean, I do understand that it's there's a language barrier there, so if you could speak to her in Japanese, it might help, but you're not going to understand the answer. I mean, like, if you could practice, like, you are amazing, you're my favorite wrestler, who's your favorite Spice Girl, right? You could practice all of that in Japanese, nail it to the point where you're like, I don't know how you do it, right? And then, like, you do it and you say it, and she's like, oh, like, amazed. Wow, this person speaks Japanese. And you'll be like, yeah. And then you're thinking, this is backfired. Because now you don't know what she said. All of a sudden it's awkward. Time's ticking away. You've paid $200 for this fiasco. So I don't know if that's the right way forward. I don't know how you would approach it. I don't know how you would approach it. Because you don't use your time trying to impress her with you speaking Japanese, do you? Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you would use your time for. I'd want to ask her a question, but I just don't even know what question I would ask. Oh, I'm getting stressed out just thinking about it. I really am. Days, you should dye your hair. Like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine? So you're sitting there, and then, like, she presses the button, and, like, you pop up on her screen, and you're dressed as her with the face paint and everything and the hair. I mean, that would look especially freaky with me. I've got the green screen as well, so I could put, like, any kind of, like, Japanese background behind me. I could sit here with, like, a doll and make the doll look like Kyrie. Oh, man. I could use my time to just freak Asuka out. I could go on a mission. No, and we don't say a word. That's how you're going to get around the language barrier. Don't say a word. So I'm going to sit here dressed as Asuka with a doll dressed as Kyrie, and we're just going to stare at each other like this. And then at the end just go, easy peasy. And then that's the end of your time. That would win the internet. I'm just telling you now, if you had that little clip and you put that on the internet, that is like a gift to the world. That is an absolute gift to the world. The world will eat that up. I already know. It would trend. But I'm just not brave enough to do that because I really like Asuka. You get 2 minutes for that. Wow, that's a long time. I don't know if you've ever counted 2 minutes, but sitting there for 2 minutes, just staring at each other. I mean, in fairness to her, her English isn't, like, amazing. I've seen a lot of her YouTube videos, you see, so I know kind of where she is with how much she can speak. Well, at least I think I do. Unless she's, like, working us all and she's, like, super fluent or something. But fair play to Asuka. Do you know what I mean? Sitting there and speaking to people, and she's got to know that she's not going to understand. Unless there's maybe a translator with her. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe I'm just thinking too much into it, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I'm excited to see what Alexa Bliss does next, says John Cena Gamer. Mr. Rotella says, best $200 ever spent. Mr. Rotella, shout out to you, my friend. Shout out to you. I would love for Austin 316 to do an interview on members and turn out to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Days would sweat if he actually did that. Sweat! There'd be nothing left of me. If I was... that seems like real pressure. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you are a big fan of one of these superstars, I kind of feel like you sitting there waiting for, like, them to come and, like, you know, I don't know if it says, like, you're next or... it probably would if you were meeting Goldberg. If you was meeting Goldberg, it'd be like, you're next! So I don't know how the queue system works or anything, but, like, man, I'm getting stressed just thinking about it now. I'd be like, oh, I don't know, okay, I'm fifth in the queue. Okay, do I need to go to the toilet? I don't think so. It's only 2 minutes. You can... No, it's best I don't. It's best I don't. But if you do that, if any of you do take them up and meet them, then I wish you all the best. Days with Death. Oh, mate, I would lose them. I would look so presentable. I would look completely different. I'd probably be in a suit. I'd probably be in a suit and completely like shaved. I probably would have worked out. I've never worked out in my life, but if I found out that I was meeting Asuka, I'd probably get a personal trainer and they'd be like, I am the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight. Come on, like this. I'd be like pumping iron and everything. So by the time we went up for 2 minutes, I'd just be like, yeah, easy busy. I'd just be showing off for 2 minutes. That's what I'd be doing. But yeah, I wouldn't just have a shave, mate. Let me tell you, I wouldn't just have a shave. Oh, yeah, whole new man. I'd be a whole new man. I'd actually be a man. Right, well, this has completely broken down, hasn't it? From what its original intention was. I feel like we did quite a good job of being professional, of really getting across our thoughts and talking about Clash of Champions, and then it just completely fell apart like these streams normally do, but hey ho, there we go. Right, we are going to wrap it up there, my friends. I'm already aware that anyone that hasn't joined us live might take a look at the fact that this predictions video, once it's stored, is going to be 1 hour 20 odd, and they might think, well, I'm not watching that. So fair play. I mean, if you have taken a chance on this stream or this video and you've got this far, honestly, you probably need like medication or something. So shout out to you anyway. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we are back. Well, I mean, literally in half an hour at the time of recording this for like the NWA show. But we are also back this weekend for the UFC show on Saturday and Clash of Champions. Don't miss that live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have fun, whatever happens. I just hope that WWE have got something up their sleeve. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully, see you again next time. Bye for now.